They had it all: money, fame, opportunity. Then they had ideas. Bad ones. From crypto geniuses turned couch surfers to lottery winners who bought tigers before taxes. Every story here proves one thing: losing millions takes real talent. Welcome to the 33 dumbest ways fortunes were lost. Number 1. The man who sold a mansion for a sandwich. In the late 1990s, a British property developer named Paul was worth millions. He built luxury homes, drove imported cars, and loved showing off his success, especially over lunch. One afternoon, sitting at a cafe, he joked that his mansion was worth less than a good sandwich. A friend laughed. Paul didn't. He turned the joke into a bet. If anyone could bring him the perfect sandwich, he'd sell them his mansion for it. A week later, that same friend showed up with a freshly baked baguette, stuffed with roast beef, truffle butter, and 50-year-old cheddar. Ingredients flown in just to mock the challenge. Paul, being both proud and profoundly stupid, kept his word. He signed the deed over for one sandwich, then of course tried to sue. The court ruled it was a legally binding verbal contract. And just like that, Paul lost his million-pound mansion to a lunch joke. Today, that property sits on Google Maps. A reminder that pride isn't just expensive, it's edible. Number 2. The lottery winner who couldn't stop giving. William Bud Post III went from broke to millionaire overnight. In 1988, he won $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery, the kind of money that buys peace, freedom, and apparently chaos. Within months, Bud bought a mansion, cars, boats, and a twin-engine airplane, despite not having a pilot's license. Then came the generosity. He gave money to everyone who asked: friends, strangers, ex-girlfriends, even the mailman once got a check. But when you start handing out fortunes like party favors, the party ends fast. His brother hired a hitman to kill him, hoping to inherit the winnings early. His ex sued him for a share, and creditors circled like vultures around a broken ATM. By year 2, Bud was $1 million in debt. He sold the mansion, auctioned off his possessions, and moved into a trailer. When asked what went wrong, he said, "Everybody dreams of winning the lottery, but no one dreams of handling it." Bud died with less than $10 in his bank account. Proof that money doesn't change people. It just gives their bad habits a bigger budget. Number 3. The actor who bought his own myth. Nicolas Cage once earned over $150 million starring in blockbuster hits. He also spent it like he was trying to speedrun bankruptcy. At one point, Cage owned 15 houses, including 2 castles, a haunted mansion in New Orleans, and a private island in the Bahamas. He bought dinosaur skulls, shrunken heads, and a 9-foot burial tomb shaped like a pyramid. Just in case, his spending became so legendary that even Hollywood accountants used him as a cautionary tale. When the IRS finally caught up, Cage owed over $6 million in back taxes. He tried selling everything: castles, cars, even the dinosaur skull, which turned out to be stolen. In interviews, Cage insists he just wanted to live creatively, and he did, in the most expensive way possible. It's a simple equation. When you spend like a myth, reality eventually sends the bill. Number 4. The crypto king who lost his password. In the age of digital gold rushes, Stefan Thomas was one of the early miners. A German-born programmer living in San Francisco, he was paid in Bitcoin back in 2011 for making an educational video on cryptocurrency. Back then, each coin was worth a few dollars. He shrugged, tucked them away on a secure flash drive, and forgot about it. Years later, Bitcoin exploded. Suddenly, those 7,002 coins were worth over $250 million, enough to buy mansions, islands, and maybe a small European country. There was just one catch. Stefan had forgotten the password. His entire fortune was locked inside an iron key, a device designed to be so secure even its owner can't break in. It allows 10 password attempts, then self-destructs digitally, sealing the data forever. Stefan used 8 tries, 8 wrong guesses, 2 left. He said he'd wake up at night sweating, running through every possible combination. Childhood pets, birthdays, bands, inside jokes, each a potential key, each a potential death sentence for his fortune. Friends begged him to try again. Hackers offered help. He refused. "It's too stressful," he said. So now that iron key sits in a drawer, waiting for future technology to crack it. He once joked that forgetting the password taught him something valuable about money, that it's only real if you can actually touch it. He's not wrong. He's just $250 million poorer for the lesson. Number 5. The heiress who couldn't stop partying. Barbara Hutton was born into a fairy tale. Her grandfather founded the Woolworth retail empire, the Amazon of its day, and by 21, she inherited the modern equivalent of $1 billion. But instead of buying peace, she bought attention. Lavish galas, diamond tiaras, private orchestras flown in from Vienna. Barbara didn't host parties. She declared wars on silence. She bought palaces, yachts, and 7 husbands, including a Danish count, a Russian prince, and actor Cary Grant. She even gifted mansions to friends just for cheering her up. But beneath the glitter, Barbara was miserable. Her mother died young, her father was distant, and every man she loved treated her like a wallet with feelings. Her spending wasn't joy, it was camouflage. By the 1970s, the poor little rich girl was down to her last few $1,000s. The woman who once owned a fleet of Rolls Royces was now living in a hotel room, surrounded by antiques she couldn't sell fast enough. When she died in 1979, her estate was barely enough to cover her debts. Newspapers called it the richest sadness money could buy. Barbara proved that wealth can't fill a void. It just makes it echo louder. Number 6. The oil tycoon who gambled with God. J. Paul Getty was once called the richest man in the world. He owned oil fields, art collections, and enough property to start his own country club. But when his teenage grandson was kidnapped in Rome in 1973, Getty did what no one expected. He refused to pay the ransom. The kidnappers demanded $17 million. Getty, worth billions, called it too expensive. He thought it was a scam, or worse, a test. He told reporters, "I have 14 grandchildren. If I pay once, I'll have 14 kidnapped grandchildren." Weeks passed, then months. The kidnappers got impatient. They cut off the boy's ear and mailed it to a newspaper. Only then did Getty agree to pay. But only $2.2 million, the maximum amount tax-deductible under U.S. law. He loaned the rest to his son, with interest. His grandson was released, maimed, and traumatized, while Getty celebrated the deal he'd made. He died years later in his mansion, surrounded by art, cameras, and no family members. They say fortune favors the bold, but sometimes it just exposes the heartless. Getty's story wasn't about losing money. It was about losing everything money couldn't replace. Number 7. The rapper who tried to buy respect. At the height of his fame, rapper MC Hammer had the world dancing, and his wallet doing backflips. He earned over $30 million in the early 90s. But Hammer didn't just want success. He wanted royalty. He built a 40,000 square foot mansion with gold-plated gates and marble floors. He bought racehorses, airplanes, and luxury cars. 17 of them for friends who looked like they needed one. He hired an entourage of 200 people, dancers, bodyguards, chefs, even a personal vibe manager. When bills started stacking up, Hammer shrugged it off. "I'm too blessed to be stressed," he said in an interview. But blessings don't pay property tax. By 1996, he was $13 million in debt and filed for bankruptcy. His mansion was auctioned off. His entourage disappeared overnight. Hammer reinvented himself as a preacher, then an internet entrepreneur. Today he lives modestly, wiser, humble, and still preaching positivity. When asked if he regrets anything, he smiles. "Not really. I just learned money's like rhythm. If you don't control it, it controls you." Number 8. The millionaire who trusted a psychic. Sean Quinn was once Ireland's richest man. He built a business empire from cement, literally. Then he decided the future wasn't in hard assets, but in intuition. In the 2000s, Quinn poured billions into risky stock bets and began consulting a psychic for spiritual investment guidance. She told him to trust his energy. He did. His energy promptly lost $3 billion. When the markets crashed in 2008, Quinn tried doubling down. He borrowed more money, mortgaged his empire, and insisted the cosmos was correcting itself. The cosmos disagreed. By 2011, the Irish government took over his companies. His family was investigated for hiding assets, and the once richest man in Ireland was officially bankrupt. Quinn later said, "I wasn't gambling. I was confident, but confidence is just gambling with better lighting." The psychic? She reportedly retired comfortably, paid in full before the collapse. Some fortunes vanish by mistake. Others are practically invited to leave. Number 9. Ludwig II of Bavaria wanted to be remembered. He had castles, armies, and the ego of 10 Disney villains combined. But he didn't want to rule. He wanted to build. So in the 1860s, he spent his royal fortune constructing a series of dream palaces inspired by fairy tales and opera sets. The most famous, Neuschwanstein Castle, looked like a hallucination carved out of sugar and marble. It cost so much that even his treasurers begged him to stop. He didn't. He borrowed, taxed, and demanded loans from other monarchs. When he ran out of credit, he secretly mortgaged royal lands. Eventually, Bavaria's ministers declared him insane and removed him from power. Days later, Ludwig was found dead in a lake, under mysterious circumstances. His castles became tourist attractions, earning billions over the next century. But Ludwig never saw a penny. He built his legacy so perfectly, it bankrupted him before it made him famous. They called him the fairy tale king, but history remembers him better as the bankrupt one. Number 10. The athlete who outsprinted his bank account. In the early 2000s, Mike Tyson had everything: fame, power, and a right hook strong enough to dent history. At his peak, Tyson earned over $400 million. The kind of money you could use to buy your own country, or at least rent one. He also spent it faster than he threw punches. There were tigers, real ones, 3 of them, complete with handlers and a private zoo. There were gold bathtubs, diamond watches, Bentleys, Lamborghinis, and enough Versace silk to reupholster Las Vegas. He threw parties that could bankrupt entire small towns. At one point, he paid $2 million for a single bathtub. But when the IRS lawsuits and bad investments came calling, the knockouts stopped being fun. By 2003, Tyson was $23 million in debt. He sold his mansions, his cars, even his tigers. In interviews, he admitted, "I had everything and nothing at the same time." Today, Tyson's made a comeback through acting, podcasting, and ironically, wisdom. He laughs about his spending now, calling it tuition in the University of Stupid. And honestly, he might be the only graduate who learned something. Number 11. The genius who bought the Titanic. 2.0 Australian billionaire Clive Palmer loved history, especially the kind that sinks. In 2012, he announced the construction of Titanic II, a fully functional replica of the original ship. Same design, same luxury, except, hopefully, better flotation. Palmer spent tens of millions planning it, hiring naval architects, historians, costume designers, and PR teams to promise the return of oceanic glory. He even bought vintage lifeboats for authenticity. But the project never sailed, literally. Costs skyrocketed, investors pulled out, and engineers warned that replicating a century-old ship wasn't exactly safe. By 2018, the entire thing had turned into a meme. The sequel nobody asked for. Palmer pivoted, claiming Titanic II would now be a symbol of human perseverance. Critics called it an expensive metaphor for not learning. Today, the half-built dream sits in limbo, a floating monument to hubris and bad budgeting. In the end, Palmer didn't just recreate the Titanic. He recreated its fate, sank billions without ever leaving port. Number 12, the queen of fashion who forgot business. Elizabeth Holmes had a vision: revolutionize healthcare with a drop of blood. She dressed like Steve Jobs, spoke like a prophet, and convinced investors she was the next Einstein in heels. Her company Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Before it was worth zero. Holmes wasn't selling medicine. She was selling a dream. She charmed billionaires, media moguls, even generals. Her black turtlenecks became a brand of genius. There was only one problem. The tech didn't work. Inside the labs, tests failed, machines malfunctioned, and results were faked. But Holmes didn't blink. She doubled down, smiling on magazine covers and preaching innovation while employees shredded evidence. By the time the truth came out, she had burned through fortunes, not just her own, but those of some of the world's most powerful investors. Theranos collapsed in a storm of lawsuits, and Holmes was convicted of fraud. She once told reporters, "I wanted to change the world." She did, just not in the direction she planned. Her fortune vanished, her reputation followed, and she became a symbol of Silicon Valley's favorite pastime, faking it until everyone else goes bankrupt. Number 13, the cowboy who bought a casino. Kenny Rogers once sang, "You've got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em." Turns out he didn't take his own advice. At the height of his career, Rogers was a country music legend. Platinum records, world tours, and mountains of cash. So when a group of businessmen approached him in the 90s with a new idea, a Kenny Rogers-themed casino, he thought, why not? The casino promised Southern charm and fried chicken fortune. Rogers invested millions, branding everything with his name and smile. It opened to fanfare, flashing lights, and fried food. Lots of it. But as it turns out, gamblers don't flock to casinos for wholesome vibes and country tunes. Within months, profits tanked. Then came lawsuits, debt, and a fried chicken franchise spin-off that caught fire. Literally. By 1998, Rogers had lost millions. He sold off assets, backed out of the brand, and quietly admitted that sometimes even legends don't know when to walk away. He wasn't the first star to gamble on himself. He just proved that when your name's on the building, you're also the one who pays when it burns down. Number 14, the rock star who bought a ghost town in the mid-2000s. Johnny Depp decided normal investments were boring. Stocks, too dull. Real estate, too predictable. So he bought a ghost town. Yes, an abandoned mining village in the California desert, complete with crumbling saloons, rattlesnakes, and zero residents. Depp reportedly spent millions restoring the place, rebuilding wooden facades, adding a fake jail, even importing vintage furniture so it would feel haunted. His plan? Turn it into a creative retreat for artists and writers. There was just one tiny problem. No one wanted to go. It was 120 degrees by noon, miles from civilization and infested with sandstorms and scorpions. Even Depp barely visited. Maintenance costs skyrocketed, and the town became a money pit, literally. He poured in more cash, hoping it would become a tourist spot or film set. It didn't. It just sat there, silently collecting dust and draining his fortune. Years later, while facing financial trouble, Depp admitted his advisors should have stopped him. But he didn't listen. The ghost town remains a perfect metaphor for Hollywood dreams. Beautiful, empty, and stupidly expensive. Number 15, the banker who bet on tulips. It sounds like a joke, but it's not. In the 1600s, the Dutch Republic was the richest place on earth. Canals full of gold, ships full of spice, and bankers full of themselves. Somewhere between inventing capitalism and overcharging for cheese, they decided to gamble on flowers. Tulips weren't just pretty, they were status symbols. Exotic, rare, and fragile, imported from the Ottoman Empire, each one looked like a little piece of paradise. And soon, paradise had a price tag, a huge one. At first, traders sold bulbs like collectibles. Then speculators joined in, because nothing says financial stability, like betting your house on a plant that can die from too much sunlight. Prices went insane. A single tulip bulb could buy a carriage, a townhouse, or a small village. People sold land, livestock, and occasionally their sanity to get in on the action. There were tulip futures, contracts promising bulbs that hadn't even been dug up yet. Paper profits multiplied faster than actual flowers. Tavern owners turned into traders, chimney sweeps became millionaires, and the local drunk was suddenly an investor. Amsterdam basically invented the modern stock market and immediately used it to commit financial suicide. Then, one winter day in 1637, a single trader skipped an auction. That's it. No scandal, no war, no plague. Just one guy who didn't show up to buy his flower. Confidence snapped. Panic spread faster than pollen. Overnight, tulip prices crashed from worth a mansion to worth a salad garnish. Wealthy merchants became beggars. Bankers jumped from windows, which, ironically, were decorated with tulip patterns. Entire estates were wiped out by horticulture. Historians still argue what truly popped the bubble: overproduction, overconfidence, or overgrown stupidity. But the moral remains clear. Never treat a flower like a fortune. Tulip mania became the world's first recorded financial crash, a 17th century preview of every crypto, meme stock, and real estate bubble since. It proved that human greed doesn't evolve. It just finds new petals to ruin. Number 16. The prince who couldn't stop collecting cars. At one point, Prince Jeffrey Bolkiah of Brunei was one of the richest men on earth. His family owned the country's oil, and his allowance alone made Wall Street executives cry in envy. So what do you do with unlimited wealth? If you're Jeffrey, you buy cars, lots of them. By lots, we mean over 2,000 vehicles. Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, and custom supercars that existed nowhere else on Earth. He even ordered a golden Rolls-Royce limousine shaped like a chariot, complete with horse sculptures. He also built private jets, a fleet of yachts, one literally named Tits, and hundreds of mansions. For a while, it looked endless, a billionaire's playground on God mode. Then came the audits. Brunei's government discovered that Jeffrey had allegedly misplaced around $14 billion of state funds. He was stripped of his ministerial roles, forced to sell his toys, and eventually sued by his own country. Today, most of his luxury cars sit rotting in dusty warehouses, an automotive graveyard of greed. And somewhere between the gold rolls and the diamond dashboards lies a perfect metaphor. You can't drive away from stupidity, no matter how many engines you own. Number 17. The tech bros who burned $1 billion. In 2017, two ambitious entrepreneurs launched what was meant to be the most exclusive music festival in history, Fyre Festival. Guests were promised private jets, gourmet meals, and luxury villas on a tropical island. Tickets cost thousands. Influencers hyped it up as paradise. Then paradise arrived, without food, shelter, or logic. Attendees landed to find disaster tents, cheese sandwiches, and panic. There were no villas, no music, no plan, just chaos, lawsuits, and a global meme. The founders, Billy McFarland and Jay Rule, had spent millions on marketing and virtually nothing on infrastructure. When the money ran out, they faked their way forward until it imploded live on social media. McFarland went to prison for fraud. Investors lost tens of millions, and Jay Rule spent years insisting he was just the talent. In the end, Fyre Festival became the greatest metaphor for modern ambition. All hype, no homework. Proof that in the digital age, it's not just fortunes people lose, it's credibility, sanity, and sometimes Wi-Fi. Number 18. The actor who built his own country. In the 1970s, British actor Michael Oliver made a modest fortune playing supporting roles and producing stage shows. Then, in a move worthy of a Bond villain, he decided to start his own nation. Literally, he found a small coral reef in the South Pacific, an unclaimed patch of sand and rock, and declared it the Republic of Minerva. He printed passports, minted coins, and even hired a team to dump concrete to expand the landmass. The plan? Sell citizenship to millionaires who wanted tax-free paradise. Investors poured in. Money flowed. Oliver dreamed of becoming a president. Or, let's be honest, a king. But his utopia didn't last long. Within months, the nearby country of Tonga claimed the reef, sent a small boat of soldiers, and raised their flag. Minerva was gone before it had plumbing. Oliver lost millions in legal fees, logistics, and ego. His nation was erased from the map, but not from history. It remains one of the dumbest financial experiments ever attempted, proof that some people don't just burn money. They declare independence from it. Number 19. The designer who spent it all on fire. Gianni Versace built an empire on luxury. Silk, gold, excess, and confidence that glowed brighter than his neon suits. But behind the fame was a truth few realized. Versace nearly bankrupted himself chasing beauty. He lived like every runway was heaven. Palaces in Milan, Miami, and Lake Como, private jets, custom art collections, and enough champagne to fill a swimming pool, which he also had. He paid for everything in cash, rarely tracked spending, and once bought a $30,000 robe for his dog. When the 90s fashion market dipped, the empire started cracking. Versace poured millions into keeping the illusion alive. Elaborate shows, celebrity endorsements, diamond-studded dresses. For a while, it worked. Then the bills arrived. By the time of his death in 1997, the Versace brand was drowning in debt, saved only by his sister Donatella's eventual restructuring. His name survived, but his fortune didn't. Gianni once said, "Luxury is freedom." He wasn't wrong. It just turned out to be very expensive freedom. Number 20. The pilot who tried to outrun taxes. In the 1980s, businessman Robert Vesco was worth hundreds of millions. He made his fortune in mutual funds, real estate, and, according to investigators, a few creative accounting tricks. When the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission came knocking, Vesco didn't hire lawyers. He bought a private jet and flew away. His escape plan? Live as a permanent billionaire on the run. He hopped between Caribbean islands, Central America, and even Libya, trying to build new empires in countries without extradition treaties. He arrived with suitcases of cash, charisma, and an endless string of promises to invest locally. But there's a problem with living like a ghost. You can't touch your money. His assets were frozen, his associates turned on him, and every country he landed in eventually got tired of him. By the 1990s, Vesco was hiding in Cuba, broke and sick, trying to convince Fidel Castro to fund his next big idea. He died there in 2007, penniless and forgotten. A man who literally flew away from responsibility and crashed into irony. Proof that when you run from the system long enough, you eventually run out of runway. Number 21. The lottery winner who bought a curse. Lara and Roger Griffiths were your typical British couple. Middle-class dreams, decent jobs, and the occasional fantasy of, what if we just won it all? Then one day in 2005, they did. £1.8 million. Overnight, their modest lives turned into a glossy brochure of success. Champagne, headlines, selfies with novelty checks. They smiled like they'd hacked life itself. Their dream script wrote itself. Buy the mansion, drive the Porsche, send the kids to private school, and never ever look at a price tag again. Lara quit her job. Roger bought a car that looked like it could time travel. They filled their wardrobes with designer labels and their evenings with expensive wine. But what started as a fairy tale slowly began to rot like caviar left in the sun. The first omen came quietly. Their new mansion caught fire. No one was hurt, but it was the kind of cosmic warning that usually comes with thunder and a voice saying, "Maybe chill." They didn't. They decided to start a business, a beauty salon for Lara, because why not? They had the money, except the salon bled cash faster than it made it. Roger tried to help but knew nothing about beauty, unless you count polishing his Porsche. Soon, arguments replaced champagne. Trust cracked. The dream couple turned into business partners at war, and in the middle of it all, the money kept disappearing. on vanity projects, bad investments, and that one expensive studio session when Lara tried to launch her singing career. By 2009, their fortune was a ghost. The cars? Sold. The mansion? Gone. The salon? Closed. And the marriage? Burned out completely. By 2010, Lara and Roger were divorced, broke, and living in separate homes that probably didn't have marble bathtubs. The tabloids called it the curse of the lottery. But Lara, to her credit, said it best. Winning the lottery doesn't change who you are. It just gives you louder problems. What she meant was simple. The money didn't destroy them. It just turned their quiet flaws into megaphones. The greed, the insecurity, the ego, all suddenly had funding. Their story became a case study in fortune's cruelest lesson. Easy come, easy gone. Especially when you mistake cash for character. They went from millionaires to a cautionary tale faster than you can say, lucky numbers. And if you ever think money solves everything, remember Lara and Roger, the couple who bought a dream and got a curse with free shipping. Number 22, the billionaire who bought his own yacht. Twice. Some billionaires buy yachts. Russian oligarch Vasily Anisimov decided to buy the same yacht twice. In the early 2000s, Vasily purchased a massive luxury vessel. Gold fixtures, helipad, full spa, the works. But soon after, he sold it to another billionaire friend during a poker-fueled business deal. A year later, he changed his mind and bought it back. At double the price. That should have been the end. It wasn't. After another party, another round of champagne, and a particularly reckless argument about who has the better taste, he sold it again, and then bought it a third time. By the time he was done playing nautical hot potato, he'd lost over $100 million in price differences, fees, and maintenance costs. He reportedly said, "It's not about money, it's about pride," which coincidentally is what everyone says right before they lose a fortune. The yacht still sails today, owned by someone else. Vasily moved on, but his legacy remains floating somewhere in the Mediterranean, a monument to ego, fueled by diesel and bad decisions. Number 23, the movie star who tried to be a farmer. In the 1980s, Kim Basinger was Hollywood royalty, award-winning actress, international model, millionaire. Then one day, she did what every financially savvy person does. She bought an entire town. She purchased Braselton, Georgia for $20 million, planning to turn it into a movie studio, tourist hub, and artist retreat. It sounded visionary. It was, unfortunately, delusional. The town had no infrastructure, no workforce, and no investors. When she tried to get Hollywood studios interested, they politely declined because it was in the middle of nowhere. Costs spiraled, investors bailed, and within 5 years she sold the town at an $18 million loss. Around the same time, she was sued for dropping out of a movie contract, filed for bankruptcy, and sold off properties to stay afloat. Years later, she joked that the town wasn't a bad investment, just premature. But let's be honest, no one wants to visit premature Georgia. Braselton is now a quiet suburban area, long since detached from her ownership. And Kim, she became the Hollywood cautionary tale of what happens when stars try to buy their own orbit. Number 24. The inventor who bet everything on the next wheel. If curiosity is the mother of invention, then Trevor Bayliss was its golden child. And like most geniuses, he was brilliant, right up until he wasn't. In the 1990s, Bayliss became a national hero in Britain for inventing the wind-up radio, a simple, clever device that didn't need batteries or electricity. It brought news, education, and hope to millions across Africa during the AIDS crisis. Nelson Mandela praised him. He was honored by the Queen. He was the inventor who made the world a little better, and he loved it. But success is a dangerous drug. It whispers that you've cracked life's code, and Bayliss, like many inventors before him, started to believe it. In 2001, he decided to chase another world-changing idea: the Bayliss Power Walkers. Shoes that could charge your phone as you walked, He called them the future of energy on the move. The concept sounded brilliant. Kinetic energy harvested from walking, stored in a small battery in the heel, ready to top up your devices. He imagined athletes, hikers, and soldiers all over the world using his creation. It was, in his mind, the next wheel. But then came the problem that kills more dreams than failure ever could: reality. The power walkers were bulky, heavy, and, according to one early tester, felt like strapping car engines to your feet. They buzzed, vibrated, and made a faint humming sound as they generated power. An experience most people described as mildly horrifying. Still, Bayless pushed forward. He poured everything into it: his royalties from the wind-up radio, his savings, even his home equity. He hired engineers, filmed promotional videos, and convinced a few Olympic athletes to test them on camera. The athletes smiled politely, then took the shoes off. Investors grew nervous, distributors backed out, and when Bayless tried to pitch the product on television, audiences laughed. One talk show host called it the most expensive way to ruin a jog. He didn't stop. He couldn't, because inventors don't see bad ideas, only unfinished good ones. He mortgaged his house again, hoping one last design tweak would make the shoes lighter and quieter. It didn't. By 2005, the project had collapsed. Bayless was broke. A few years later, cheap fitness trackers hit the market, devices that did everything his invention tried to do, minus the ankle pain. They sold millions. He sold nothing. Bayless later admitted, "I was too in love with the idea to see it fail." And that's the real tragedy. He wasn't greedy. He was passionate. He didn't want money. He wanted to matter again. After losing his fortune, he spent the rest of his life fighting for inventor rights, campaigning for laws that protected creators from predatory companies and patent thieves. He lectured young innovators, warning them not to repeat his mistakes. "Never bet your future on one gadget," he'd say, especially one no one asked for. In interviews, he was still charming, witty, and sharp, but behind the smile was a man who'd learned the hardest truth in invention. Sometimes the world doesn't reject your idea because it's bad. It rejects it because it doesn't need it. Trevor Bayless passed away in 2018, honored for his contributions to humanitarian technology. But quietly, his story remains one of the most ironic in modern invention: a man who brought power to the powerless, only to lose his own chasing the next big spark. The Bayless Power Walkers never hit stores. Only a few prototypes survive, clunky, forgotten relics of a dream that couldn't keep pace with time. And in the end, his words became the final design sketch of his legacy. If you want to change the world, build something people need, not something you need them to love. A sad, poetic truth from a man who tried to reinvent walking and ended up tripping over genius itself. Number 25. The banker who tried to buy the sun. In 2010, a retired Spanish property agent named Maria Angeles Duran made international headlines. She marched into a notary's office and claimed legal ownership of the sun. Yes, the actual sun. She filed documents citing international law that allowed private ownership of celestial bodies not claimed by governments. Her plan? Sell plots of the sun to investors for a small fee. She even started an online marketplace, offering solar deeds for €20 each. For a few months it worked. People actually bought shares of sunlight. Then PayPal froze her account. Then came the lawsuits because apparently the sun causes skin cancer, and some buyers thought they could sue the owner. She lost everything in legal fees and fines, including her real estate fortune. When asked if she regretted it, Duran said, "Of course not. I was the first woman to own a star." Technically true, but also the first to go bankrupt over daylight. Her story remains a masterclass in cosmic stupidity, proof that when you reach for the stars, maybe check if they come with a power bill. Number 26. The genius who turned art into confetti. If insanity had a currency, Damien Hirst would be the Federal Reserve. He's one of the world's most famous living artists, and arguably the only man who's ever made more money cutting things in half than painting them. In the 90s, he shocked the art world with works like The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living, a 14-foot shark suspended in formaldehyde, and For the Love of God, a human skull encrusted with 8,601 diamonds. Critics said he was redefining art. Skeptics said he was redefining stupidity. Either way, his bank account didn't care. By 2022, Hearst was a certified art world billionaire, a man who had successfully convinced the world that a dead animal could be a financial asset. And then he decided to outdo himself. The project was called The Currency. Hearst created 10,000 unique paintings, bright, colorful dots on A4 paper, each slightly different from the last. He sold them for about $2,000 a piece, but with one catch. Buyers had to make a choice. They could either keep the physical painting, or they could trade it for a digital NFT, a blockchain token that represented ownership of that artwork. Whichever version they didn't choose would be destroyed forever. At first, collectors loved it. It was bold, conceptual, meta. People bragged online about which side they picked, the tangible or the virtual, the real or the imagined. It felt like a philosophical debate wrapped in confetti. Then the deadline arrived. Thousands of buyers, many young crypto enthusiasts, chose the NFT thinking it was the future. And Damien Hirst, never one to miss a spectacle, kept his word. In a live-streamed event, he began burning the originals. One by one, thousands of hand-painted real-world artworks were fed into the flames. Gone forever. The total value of the art destroyed? Roughly $10 million. And the value of the NFTs? Let's just say they didn't age well. Critics called it performance art. Economists called it a bonfire of wealth. Art students called it Tuesday. But the real shock wasn't the destruction. It was the message. Hearst claimed he was exploring the meaning of value, that he wanted to ask whether art was worth more as a physical object or as a digital belief system. He said, "It's all about belief, what we choose to value." Translation: even the smartest people on earth will light millions on fire just to prove they understand money better than you do. Some praised him as a genius. Others called it the world's most expensive midlife crisis. Either way, it worked. The art world talked about nothing else for months. But here's the irony. In trying to question what value means, Hearst ended up proving it. The burned paintings became more famous than the ones that survived. Collectors began trading photos of the ashes, and prices for his remaining works went up. He literally turned destruction into profit. In one interview, Hearst smiled and said, "I think I just made the most valuable fire in history." And maybe he did, because that's what makes his story so perfect. He didn't just torch art for attention. He torched art to expose how absurdly fragile belief really is. The people who lost millions buying his NFTs didn't lose to bad luck. They lost to faith, blind, burning faith in the idea that something worthless could become priceless if enough people agreed to pretend. In that sense, Hearst didn't just burn paper and paint. He burned the illusion that value ever truly exists. And while the world gasped, he just smiled, surrounded by smoke, money, and applause. Because in the modern world, you don't have to be right. You just have to burn the evidence beautifully. Number 27, the king who bought a volcano. In 1979, Mobutu Sese Seko, dictator of Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, was so rich he stopped pretending money was real. He built marble palaces in the jungle, had servants iron his leopard skin hats, and flew Concorde jets for shopping trips. But his strangest purchase? A volcano. Mount Nyiragongo, one of the world's most active volcanoes. Mobutu claimed it as his personal property after it erupted near one of his estates. He called it a symbol of power, fenced off the area, and even tried to build a resort on the slopes. Engineers warned him it was unstable. He ignored them and spent millions reinforcing roads and helicopter pads so his guests could watch the lava safely. Spoiler, they couldn't. The volcano erupted again in the 90s, wiping out the project and several nearby towns. Mobutu fled the country soon after, taking what was left of the treasury with him. He died in exile, his fortune scattered, his volcano still active. Proof that some men don't just play with fire. They buy it wholesale. Number 28. The CEO who tried to live forever in Silicon Valley. Ambition is oxygen. But for Elizabeth Parrish, CEO of a biotech startup called BioViva, ambition wasn't just about money. It was about immortality. Parrish believed aging was a disease that could be cured. So she invested millions of dollars, her own and her investors, into a gene therapy that supposedly reversed aging. When the medical board refused to approve human trials, she flew to Colombia and tested it on herself. Her company announced she had successfully reversed 20 years of aging based on private lab results. Investors poured in millions more. Scientists, however, called it nonsense. When official testing was demanded, BioViva couldn't reproduce the results. The therapy didn't reverse aging, it just reversed her bank account. The company collapsed under regulatory fines and lawsuits. Today, Parrish still insists she's living proof that her treatment works, though she hasn't released medical data in years. She told one journalist, "Maybe I'll live long enough for everyone to admit I was right." It's a bold business model. Spend millions proving immortality, and still end up broke. Number 29. The actor who built his own theme park. In the 1980s, Japanese actor Matsuko Yamada was a living legend, a household name. The face of samurai honor, comedy, and 1,000 tear-jerking TV dramas. He'd conquered film, television, and advertising. And with fame came fortune. Millions poured in. He bought mansions, cars, even a private island. Every talk show called him Japan's national treasure. But Matsuko didn't want to be a treasure. He wanted to be immortal. And in his mind, immortality meant one thing: building a place where he would never be forgotten. That place was Yamada-land. Yes, a full-scale theme park dedicated entirely to himself. It was supposed to be a cultural shrine to his career, a gift to the fans, as he called it. But to everyone else, it looked like a shrine to his ego. Yamada-land would feature wax statues of all his famous roles: the fearless samurai, the tragic lover, the slapstick fool. There was a museum filled with his costumes and movie props, a 3D theater that played only his films, and a fireworks show every night, choreographed to his movie soundtracks. He even built a bronze statue of himself at the entrance, bowing heroically toward guests, who unfortunately never really showed up. The park took 3 years and over $50 million to build, but Yamada didn't care. He said, "It's not about money, it's about legacy." Which, in hindsight, is exactly what people say when they're about to lose a lot of money. When Yamada-land finally opened, he arrived in a parade, riding a horse dressed in gold silk, waving to reporters as if he'd just returned from battle. The media came in droves, curious to witness the madness. And the crowds? Barely 200 visitors. Most were journalists, critics, and a few bewildered tourists who thought it was a samurai museum. The rides broke down within weeks. The gift shops couldn't sell a single keychain. The food stands closed before lunch. And within months, the park that was supposed to celebrate eternal fame turned into Japan's most expensive punchline. By the end of its first year, Yamada-land had lost so much money that creditors started circling. He mortgaged his homes, sold his luxury cars, and even auctioned off his film awards, including his Oscars, just to stay afloat. The park officially shut down less than 18 months after its grand opening. The employees left, the gates rusted, and the wax figures began to melt in the summer heat, slowly turning into nightmarish caricatures of their creator. Years later, a journalist visited the abandoned site. He described the scene: overgrown weeds swallowing the ticket booths, the Yamada-land sign half collapsed, and the bronze statue of Yamada standing alone, its hand still frozen mid-wave to a crowd that never came. When asked about it years later, Yamada gave a half smile and said, "I thought people loved me, Turns out they just liked my movies. That single sentence became his most famous line. Not from a film, but from real life. And that's what makes Yamada's story so perfectly tragic. Not the bankruptcy, not the ego, but the lesson that came with it. He spent millions trying to prove he was larger than life, only to discover that fame is rented, not owned. Today, Yamada Land still exists, not as a park, but as a relic of hubris. Locals say it's haunted by the echoes of music and laughter that never really happened. Filmmakers sometimes visit to shoot documentaries about the cost of celebrity. Tourists sneak in for photos, posting captions like, "The loneliest theme park in Japan." And somewhere out there, Yamada, older, quieter, humbled, lives with the understanding that he once tried to build heaven out of concrete and nostalgia, and accidentally built a tomb for his own fame instead. If irony could charge admission, Yamada Land would have been a gold mine. Number 30, the entrepreneur who bought air. In 2015, two Canadian entrepreneurs, Moses Lam and Troy Paquette, decided to do the impossible, make a fortune selling the one thing everyone already owns: air. Their idea was simple, absurd, and somehow brilliant. They called it Vitality Air, and their pitch was that city dwellers, especially in smog-choked cities like Beijing and Delhi, would pay for bottled, pure, untouched Rocky Mountain air. Not oxygen tanks for hospitals, not scuba supplies, just regular Canadian air, canned like soup, sold like luxury. Each aluminum bottle came with a nozzle, sleek packaging, and a promise: experience premium North American atmosphere. They even had flavors: Banff Breeze, Lake Louise Mist, Jasper Pure. Basically air with different emotional backstories. At first, people laughed. Then, people bought it. A novelty product became a viral sensation. Influencers posted selfies breathing Canada. Chinese middle-class consumers treated it like status perfume. Proof they could literally afford better air. Early shipments sold out in days. Investors flooded in, smelling profit in the one thing that has no smell. Vitality Air expanded to new markets: India, South Korea, even Dubai. They promised luxury breathing experiences for the elite. There were photo shoots of executives holding canisters like fine wine. It was the kind of insanity only capitalism could turn into a business plan. And for a brief, shining moment, it worked. Until math showed up. Each canister cost far more to ship than it sold for. Compressed air is bulky, fragile, and doesn't stack neatly. By the time a single $30 can reach China, it had eaten $45 in shipping, customs, and handling fees. The margins were thinner than the air they sold. Then came competition. Imitators popped up everywhere. Fresh Alps, Himalaya Air, even one company selling Parisian Urban Breeze. When everyone's selling the same nothing, the market fills up fast. Within a year, the hype evaporated. Warehouses filled with unsold inventory, thousands of shiny, unopened cans of Canadian freshness, sitting quietly in the dark. The founders eventually admitted, "We underestimated how hard it is to scale air," which, honestly, is a sentence no human being should ever have to say out loud. Their story spread online, half business lesson, half cosmic joke. They weren't scammers. They were believers. In the bizarre idea that if you package nothing well enough, people will buy it. And for a moment, they were right. But the truth is, Vitality Air didn't fail because it was dumb. It failed because it was too honest. Most companies sell dreams, illusions, and empty promises. They just hide it better. These guys literally put emptiness in a can and slapped on a label. In a world where value is often just vapor, they were pioneers of purity. Today, Vitality Air technically still exists, a tiny niche brand selling souvenir air to tourists and collectors. Their early cans now float around on eBay as relics of modern absurdity, fetching ridiculous prices from people, nostalgic for the days when breathing was still optional. In the end, they didn't just lose millions, they lost credibility and became a meme in every economics lecture about novelty markets. But here's the twist. they might have accidentally created one of the most brilliant metaphors of our time, because Vitality Air wasn't about air. It was about how desperately people want to buy meaning, cleanliness, purity, status, all bottled and shipped with free irony included. It's the perfect story of the modern age. Two dreamers tried to sell something invisible, and the world bought it until it realized it already owned it for free. They didn't just sell air, they sold faith and learned that, in capitalism, belief is the most expensive gas of all. Number 31. The Sultan who paved the desert in gold. In the early 2000s, Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah of Brunei, yes, the same family as Prince Jeffrey, decided to outdo his brother. He ordered a private highway connecting his palace to the airport. Cost $400 million. Length 20 kilometers. Purpose: so he could avoid traffic. The road was paved with imported Italian marble, lined with gold-plated streetlights, and featured air-conditioned toll booths. For drivers who didn't exist, because only the Sultan was allowed to use it. The project bankrupted several state contractors and forced government cuts. Locals nicknamed it the Road to Nowhere. Bolkiah later justified it by saying, "Comfort is a sign of respect for time." Which sounds wise until you realize he spent more money on a single road than the country's annual education budget. The Golden Highway still stands, gleaming, empty, and quietly mocking the idea that money equals wisdom. Number 32. The businessman who built a hotel for aliens. In 1998, Japanese millionaire Kiyoshi Matsumoto had what he called a vision from beyond. He claimed aliens had chosen him to prepare Earth for their arrival, and obviously that meant building them a luxury hotel. He spent nearly $30 million constructing a futuristic complex in rural Japan. Glowing domes, mirrored halls, a galactic dining experience, and even a helipad for UFOs. He named it the Extraterrestrial Welcome Center. Locals thought it was a marketing stunt. It wasn't. Matsumoto genuinely believed aliens would land, stay, and repay him in cosmic wisdom, or maybe interstellar royalties. When opening day came, the press showed up. So did curious tourists. The aliens didn't. Within a year, the hotel went bankrupt. Electric bills skyrocketed. Maintenance costs burned through his fortune. And Matsumoto spent his final years insisting the aliens had delayed check-in. The site still exists, half abandoned, half haunted by neon lights and ambition. Proof that when you start building for imaginary customers, the universe will definitely take your deposit. Number 33. The king of popcorn who bet against sound. In the 1920s, William Fox, founder of Fox Film Corporation, was Hollywood royalty. He owned studios, theaters, and a fortune worth hundreds of millions. Then talkies, movies with sound, arrived. Fox thought it was a fad. He declared silent films timeless art and refused to adapt. Instead of investing in sound technology, he poured his fortune into expanding silent theaters. By the time he realized his mistake, audiences had moved on, theaters went empty, stocks crashed, and the Great Depression finished the job. Fox lost everything. He tried suing rival studios, but legal fees devoured what little he had left. By the 1940s, the man whose name still flashes before blockbuster movies was bankrupt, driving a taxi in New York City. He once said, "I built dreams for others. I just forgot to keep one for myself." A poetic ending for a man who proved that even visionaries can go blind when the world turns up the volume. And there it is. 33 ways humanity proved that intelligence and income rarely travel together. We've seen men buy volcanoes, artists burn their own money, and tech geniuses lock themselves out of $250 million fortunes because they couldn't remember password 123. We've watched empires built on ego, castles carved from delusion, and dreams sunk faster than the Titanic II. But the truth behind all these stories isn't just stupidity. It's the illusion that having more means knowing more. Money doesn't make you wiser. It just gives your bad ideas the budget to become architectural. the average person makes a dumb choice and loses $100. These people make one and lose a country. Every era has its own madness. Tulip traders, crypto gamblers, NFT collectors, same brains, new toys. The human mind might evolve, but our arrogance, that's generational wealth. And maybe that's the point. Maybe money isn't meant to make us better, just louder versions of who we already are. If you're humble, wealth becomes comfort. If you're proud, it becomes gasoline. And if you're spectacularly stupid, well, congratulations. You just made the list. But here's the secret. They never tell you, losing money doesn't make you a failure. Refusing to learn from it does. Because somewhere between the ghost towns, golden roads, and alien hotels, there's a lesson hidden under all the laughter. That fortune is only impressive until it starts running away from you. So next time you envy the rich, remember, someone out there just spent $1 million on bottled air and thinks they're a genius. And you, sitting there with your ramen, your sanity, and your working Netflix subscription, might be the smartest investor in the room. If you enjoyed this deep dive into financial Darwinism, hit subscribe, drop a like, and join us again next time as we dig through more tales of human brilliance gone catastrophically wrong. Because this is Factoland, where greed meets gravity, logic files for bankruptcy, and we keep laughing all the way to, well, not the bank,